Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the new chapter of your social studies. Earlier, as we all know, there were no kingdoms. In this lesson, we will learn how kingdoms came into existence and what were earlier kingdoms. Like we have democracy now, whether they have democracy then or those days have republics or rulers, we will learn about them. What administration they have and what type of system they followed, what rules and regulations they followed. Early man, as he was a nomad, he started moving from place to place and slowly with the cultivation of crops. Initially, he was a hunter, then he became a gatherer, and then slowly he became cultivator and started settling as they have to settle to the places near to the places where water was available, like near the valleys, the banks of the rivers, as they understood water was necessary for cultivation. From 600 BC to 400 BC, these tribal settlements were on or very close to the banks of the river. In India, if we see one such place or river valley is the Indo-Gangetic Plain. All the rivers which originates from Himalayas, they flow down from the Himalayas. They bring along the silt and deposit them on the plains. They were by making this line a fertile land. So we find most of the early settlement somewhere near the Indo-Gangetic Plain. So how did we come to know about these? As we have learned earlier, the archaeologists who work or who dig the earth and give us the information about the early settlements. Other than the archaeologists, all over the world we have another source, that is literature, called literary source. At the stage when men started writing, we have sources which explained about the emergence of kingdoms and republics of those days. These sources were nothing but the Vedas, the Upanishads. This tell about the people who settled there and the rulers and the administration they used to follow. The rivers Ganga and Yamuna flow between the Himalayas and the hills of the Deccan Plateau. It is called as Gangetic Valley. As this plain receives very high rainfall, it is very fertile. These rivers bring silt from the Himalayas and flow throughout the year. Initially, the people of different tribes settled down to practice agriculture in these convenient part of the valley. Sakyas, Lichavis, Mallas, Videhas, etc. are of such tribes. These tribes were called Janas in Sanskrit, and the place where they settled was called Janapada. People began to settle down along the rivers in large numbers some 2700 years ago. They cleared the forest with the help of iron tools and tilled the land to grow paddy and other crops. Large villages and towns developed in these parts, and they were inhabited by many people, probably belonging to many different tribes. The widespread use of iron in Gangetic Plain created conditions for the formation of larger territorial units. Large group of such villages and towns were called Mahajanapadas or big Janapadas. Most of the Mahajanapadas had a capital city, and of many of those were fortified. How do we get to know much about those villages and towns? From the two kinds of sources, from archaeological excavations in different places and from the books composed during the periods. Archaeologists have excavated hundreds of sites in the Ganges Valley and have tried to know more about the lives of people of those days. Some important archaeological sites at the time of Mahajanapadas are Hastinapura, Atranjikhera, Kausambi, and Pataliputra. The books during that period were mostly religious. They were, even though they were religious, they tell us a lot about the towns and villages and about the kings and rulers of those times. Some books were even written by people of distant countries like Greece. Some important books written during this period are Upanishads, Dharma Sutras, Digan, Diganikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Herodotus' history. So Upanishads were part of the Vedic book, the Vedas. We learn from the books of those times that agriculture was managed by landowners called Grihapatis or Gahapatis, who usually worked along with their family members on the fields. But they also employed dasas or slaves, who were probably captured in wars and sold to farmers, and workers, bhartukas, or who worked on their fields and homes in return for wages. Some wealthy Grahapatis had more land and slaves to work for them. Two major changes happened in agriculture. Use of iron plowshare and plantation of paddy saplings improved agricultural productivity. Promotion of irrigation facilities also increased production. Usually, the largest landowner became the headman of the village. He was the leader of the village. He also used to by the king to collect taxes from villagers. He also acted as a judge and sometimes as a policeman to maintain law and order in the village. This may have helped many headmen to increase their power and resources in the village. In most of the villages, there were craftspersons, blacksmiths, made tools necessary for agriculture like plough, shears, sickles, axes, arrows, etc. Potters made cloth, pots for cooking and storing grains. Carpenter made carts, ploughs, and furniture. Weavers wove cloth for villagers. The potters made earthen pots. Some of these were grey in color, others were red. One special type of pottery found at these sites is known as painted grey ware. Those grey pots contained designs, usually simple lines and geometric patterns. Probably the Grahapatis gave them grains in return for their products. Those products were necessary for agriculture, but the Grahapatis may not have had the time or skill to make them. Agrarian surplus and increase in craft products resulted in the emergence of trading and exchange centers. Okay, students, if you have any doubt, you can clear it in your live class. Until then, thank you.